Welcome back finally to Yang Daily. I will be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. Feels like it's been a long time and no time at all since our last episode. Gotta admit, I needed that break. I'd forgotten what days off were like. The fourth festivities were off the chain over here. Sounds like there was a lot more enthusiasm in most places after people being cooped up for so long. But out here in the boonies, there were so many fireworks around our house that there was a good hour long where literally not a single second went by without a boom from somewhere, and one of our neighbors must have lit off over 200 themselves, including a lot of really big ones. Absolutely mental. Hope you all had a good holiday. Anyway, lots of UBI stuff to go over today, just what we like to hear. But first, Trump issued a statement to the UN that he is formally withdrawing the U.S. membership and ceasing payments. The UN responded by calling him a fool in very polite and diplomatic language. The legality of the act, however, is suspect at best. When Congress joined the WHO, it was under the specific provision that any withdrawal should require 1 year's notice and the current year's dues be paid in full. Trump, of course, is attempting to violate both these clauses. Add this to Trump's other retreats from international treaties, including the Iran deal, UNESCO, and the Paris Climate Accord. To be fair, given Trump's history in business, we shouldn't be surprised at him reneging on a debt. We got yet another new member for Mayors for AGI today. Welcome Satya Rhodes Conway, Mayor of Madison, Wisconsin. Please message her a thank you for joining the movement and follow her on Twitter. Mayor Roz Baca also went on NPR to talk about the organization, UBI, and address opposition. Drop him some support as well. Scott is asking that everyone write their local newspaper a letter to the editor about getting the mayor to join Mayors for AGI. Sounds like a great idea to me. Want local action? Get local attention. The Movement for Black Lives has written up a formal bill of rights that they are pushing for. It's too long to go over in detail on this podcast, but in general terms, it takes some elements from defund the police, removing funding from incarceration and policing services, such as removing police from schools and social service buildings, as well as the Department of Defense. It eliminates certain surveillance and punitive measures, such as ankle bracelet monitoring, civil asset forfeiture, minimum sentencing, all criminal justice fees, and decriminalizes drugs. It incentivizes states to reduce their incarceration rates and facilities. It invests more money in social services, including some new approaches. It calls for revision of historical education to cover the nation's history of oppression fairly. It establishes free healthcare services and access to clean drinking water, air, and healthy food for all. It calls for a Green New Deal to reach 100% renewable energy. It invests in housing reform for low-cost housing, and it includes a number of items for increased voter access. Again, these are only some of the elements. The most relevant for us, perhaps, is that it also includes a call for UBI pilots and a universal child allowance. Honestly, it would have been pretty outrageous to leave it out when it was the main plank in King's platform for racial justice, but it's good to see it in there nonetheless. Speaking of, don't forget to participate in the July 11th March on your local congressperson for the People's Stimulus. It's got good support from the People's Party, Humanity Forward, Bernie groups, and more officially endorsing it. Very cool to see. Kurt Bramble and Mike Winder are writing up a bill to change all government-funded Utah primaries to ranked choice voting. It would take effect in 2021. Great to see that as well. Would love to get it for the general election too. Yang will be joining a global summit with a group of entrepreneurs, Ariana Huffington, Armando Perez, and Madame Sirleaf, to talk pandemic and their response to it, Wednesday at noon Eastern. Andrew also joined Heidi and John Munitz on Hill of Roses for a very informative interview. The hosts came out with pointed questions eliciting some helpful information. This includes that Yang is in favor of M4A, single payer, but believes it's not realistic to do it all at once. Yang reaffirmed that his plan will be very low to no cost and did not deny comparison to Taiwan's healthcare policy. He also reaffirmed he will not run third party and said that ranked choice voting is needed to make that a viable option. As well, he will 100% run if Biden does not get UBI done and no other candidates are committed to it and his other policies. He said he's optimistic that Biden's going to be a much better means to accomplish our goals than Trump, but that if it turns out he's wrong, he'll act accordingly. And he confirmed that more women guests will be coming on Yang Speak soon. Perhaps most importantly, he said that at least a couple members of Congress got on the cash relief bill because someone was running against them in the primary that was for UBI or cash relief. This is important to remember, that it's not always about winning the race. Even if you only make it competitive, you can influence whoever does win, and popular knowledge and opinion. It really matters. Finally, 156 top economists published an open letter urging immediate, bold action to prevent the nation's economic downturn from worsening. Among those bold actions, the letter called specifically for recurring direct payments tied to employment levels, exactly like Tim Ryan's bill. From the letter, quote, "Direct cash payments are an essential tool that will boost economic security, drive consumer spending, hasten the recovery, and promote certainty at all levels of government and the economy for as long as necessary." End quote. It also called for extra support for UI, SNAP, childcare, and states, but basic income was definitely the featured element. Looks like we're working our way toward the 1,000 economists' endorsement from the 60s. Now let's hope Congress, particularly the Senate, listens. Let's also help them listen by putting this letter in front of their faces as much as possible. It did get a supporting tweet from Bernie, so that's cool. The Economic Security Project and Justice Collaborative helped make this happen, so be sure to show them some love too. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Welcome Mayor Conway to the movement. Write your local newspaper about mayors for AGI. Point your representatives at the Economist letter. Help advocate for clear, fundamental policy goals for the protests. If you're going out to protest, wear protection, especially on your eyes, head, and throat. If you get arrested while protesting, remember not to say anything without a lawyer. Whatever you choose to do, be wise, be safe, and act with measured purpose toward real solutions. And don't forget to Yang Daily.